for every cooking class to receive the email invite and to also get the recipes. It's so important. They'll always be in your MyChart, so please keep up on checking your MyChart for your classes that you're signed up for. And if you happen to be watching the recorded version of this class and you would like to receive the recipes, please send us a request at the email there on the slide, bariatricsupport@slhs.org. All right, let's switch it over Jen in the kitchen to see what she has in store for us today.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our cooking class here for February. We are focusing on heart health. So we've got several recipes in store for you today that I think you're going to enjoy quite a lot. And we're going to start with some salmon. Salmon is known to be very good for the heart. There's some good healthy fats in there. And then we've got some other tasty additions that we're going to put here with our salmon. So if you're not a huge salmon fan, admittedly, I'm not. I know we are a dietitian who doesn't care for salmon that much, but we're going to dress it up in a way that makes it really, really tasty. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with that. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put together our topping. So we've got our salmon here on our tray. I just laid it skin side down. And what I've done is I've lined this sheet with some foil, some tin foil, and then I put the parchment paper on top of that. And we're doing that because what we want to do is crimp up the sides and create a bit of a boat for our salmon to help maintain the moisture there. That's going to keep it from getting too dry. And dry salmon is no bueno, right? We don't like that. So we're going to do that after we're done mixing together what we have here in the bowl. So we've got a few different things here. We've got some Dijon mustard. That's going to add a lot of flavor. We also have some lemon juice and then a little bit of some olive oil or avocado oil, if that's what you prefer. So we're going to put that into our bowl. I also have some dried dill and some dried parsley. You could do fresh, of course, but we've got the dried. And so we're going to put that in there. One of the tricks with dried versus fresh is usually if you're doing fresh and then you need to do dry instead, you do about a third of that. So we've got 2 teaspoons of our dried in here. That would be equal to, hold on, we'll do the math, 2 tablespoons of your fresh herbs because there's 3 teaspoons per tablespoon. So that means if you had 2 tablespoons, which is 6 teaspoons, I hope I'm not doing too much here, then we're doing a third of that, but we've already got that in the recipe. So you're good to go. We also have some green onions and we have some cilantro. That's going to add a lot of good flavor. Those are fresh. So we're going to pop those in there. And we've got several spices here as well. We've got some garlic powder. You could do fresh if you wanted to. That's part of the recipe. So you choose. We also had a little bit of salt and pepper. We've got our cayenne pepper in here. If you don't like it too spicy, you could do chili powder, but the cayenne really isn't that much. It adds just a tiny bit of heat, but nothing super, super spicy. And then we've got some coriander. That is going to add a nice flavor as well. So all I'm going to do is just mix this together, right? So nothing too tough here. I mean, probably the hardest part of that was chopping up the onions and the cilantro. That only takes a couple minutes, so pretty quick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my salmon over here. I'll try and make sure you guys can see this when I'm done. And I'm just going to try to evenly distribute our good tasty paste on top of the salmon. And again, I always like to say, waste not, want not, you know, now that I've said that enough times, Amber kind of teases me about it, but right, if we don't want to waste, and with food prices being as they are, we want to just get every little smidgen out of there. So I kind of like everything evenly distributed. If you don't care, that's no big deal, but I kind of like every bite to have some of this topping on it. So I'm going to try and spread this out nice and evenly over my salmon pieces. You know, the recipe calls for about a pound of salmon. When you buy salmon, you don't always get a perfect pound. We actually have more like an eighth of a pound here. Not 1/8, but about, yeah, 8/10 yeah. So like 12, 13, 14 ounces right around there. So it's a little shy of that. But still works. It's still really close. This is not one of those recipes where you have to be super perfect with it. You just smash the paste on top and then you're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp up my sides here a little bit, make it even harder for you to see what I've got going on here. But again, it's just salmon and fish, they can dry out so easily. So we just want to make sure we're really crimping up these sides quite a bit. We're going to get it nice and boat-like for our salmon. So there we go. Got our salmon in there. We're going to put it in to the oven and we're going to let it go for how long? About 15-ish minutes? Yeah. These are not super thick. If you had really, really thick fillets, you'd probably have to go longer, but these are not so thick. So we're going to do 15 minutes. And what you're looking for is salmon being just up to 145 degrees. So if you really, really want to be sure, especially if you don't have a lot of experience cooking fish, you want to get it up to 145 degrees and honestly no warmer than that if you can help it, so that you're not overcooking and over drying out your fish. That's really kind of the key to making good fish, is not getting it really dried out. So if you have a thermometer at home in your kitchen, which I would highly encourage, going for the bottom end of the cooking range and then temping it is what you could do to feel really confident about that. But we did this already in the kitchen. The salmon fillets were pretty close to that same size and they were done at 15 minutes. So that's what we're going to do today in class. And I think that's going to work out just great for these. They'll be just done, but not fully done. And you know what I did? I forgot to put the nuts on top. Now you could leave it without the nuts, but why, right? Nut crusted salmon, hello. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle my nuts on. I did this in the practice class too. I totally forgot the bowl of nuts. They were sitting right in front of me. It's a Friday, y'all. There we go. I'm just going to push those in a little bit so they kind of, I want them to stick to the paste. There we go. All right, we're still good. Now we're going to leave it in there. We're going to let that go ahead and finish. We're going to take a brief commercial break. We will be back. And we will move on to dessert. Dessert good for your heart? Yes, of course, right? So we'll let Amber do some talking and we'll get ready for that next recipe.
Okay, everybody. Well, as we wait for this awesome fish to get cooking, Jen is going to be talking about and making these awesome dessert cakes. Can't wait for that. Okay, I'm going to talk about some benefits of salmon, omega-3 fatty acid fish types. Someone asked what kind of fish. Really, this recipe can be used with any type of fish. But today, since it's heart healthy and we're focusing on that, we're going to talk about the benefits of omega-3 fats in our diet. And they come from different areas. We've got a bunch of them today, actually. But the fish tends to be the best as far as that. The American Heart Association recommends that eating fish rich in this fat twice a week, really. They want us to eat more fish. And that gets different, inland versus living on coastal cities. But if you can afford it and you want to be healthier and better for your heart, the Heart Association recommends twice a week. So the other thing is it can help with the inflammation. That's what the biggest thing is, that they lower the inflammation in our body. And there's a lot of things that are linked to inflammation. One being obviously our heart healthy, lowering blood pressure, lowering our risk of heart disease and stroke. It can also help with other diseases that are inflammatory, arthritis, diabetes, different things. So it's really just a great food. Oh, wait, I have a beautiful picture, sorry, of the fish. I forgot. These are all the awesome things we're going to be talking about today. So I got to have them up there. Anyway, then some of the omega-3 fatty acid fish options are salmon, sardines, Atlantic mackerel, cod, herring, lake trout, or canned light tuna. And so that is what those are made of. And then about a 4-ounce portion is about the size of a deck of cards. And then people would maybe saying, well, hey, can I get them other places? I don't eat fish twice a week. I don't eat fish twice a week. And so we're going to be having later on, when we talk about the dessert, some walnuts. Walnuts are also high in omega-3 fatty acids, as well as chia seeds, dark green leafy vegetables. We'll have a salad later on we'll be talking about, and also flaxseed and flaxseed oil. So I think, Jen, are you ready to get going on the cakes? All right, we're moving over to Jen. Thank you for your.
So let's go ahead and move on to dessert. And we need to get our dessert ready to go because as soon as our fish is done, we're going to slide that dessert right into the oven. And we wanted to do some molten lava cakes for you today. This is kind of a special thing, right? Getting a molten lava cake is not something that we get to have every single day. And of course, we wanted to make sure that we could put together a healthier option for you. So we did come up with a lower sugar version that you can make at home. And we've got these really cute little heart-shaped ramekins that Shirley found. So if you don't have heart shapes, it's totally fine. You can just use the normal little white round ones or whatever you happen to have. So no big deal there, but it's heart month. So we have heart cakes, right? So this recipe is really quite simple. I think the hardest part about this recipe is getting it pulled out of the oven at the right time because you want it just done on the outside and then that's it. Then you pull it against maybe what you're usually looking for because we want actually that little bit of jiggle in the middle. And then we need to let it sit for a little while just to kind of cool a little bit. And then you still get that ooey gooey center, which most of us find quite delightful, right? So what we're going to start with here first is our ingredients for the cake. And we're basically just going to put this all into the bowl and then whip it all together. So I've got 4 eggs. A little bit better to try and have those be at room temperature. Everything mixes better together that way. You get a better product in the end. So if you can set your eggs out so they, 30, 60 minutes to come to room temperature, then that is better. I've got my cocoa powder. So we've got that going on in there. I got to have the chocolate. And then we've got our sweetener. So we've got some confectioner sugar sweetener here. We've got the Swerve brand. That's what we find at Walmart, but you can find other versions of this as well. So more of an erythritol-based powdered sweetener here is what we have. So we're going to put that in there. And then we're also going to add our almond flour. So instead of standard flour, we're using almond flour here. So lower carbohydrate, a little bit of protein in there with that guy. We also had our vanilla that went in as well. That was with the eggs because we like to put things together in our class. And then what I've got here also is 4 tablespoons of some melted butter. So I'm going to pour that in. And I'm going to use, again, waste not, want not. We got some butter sticking. We got a little stubborn butter there. There we go. So all I'm going to do is get out my little mixer here, and we're going to put this together. What you want to do here while you're beating this together is just have a little bit of patience. Make sure you give it enough time to really get it blended well together, because if you can give it a little bit of time and really get some good air incorporated into your batter here, you do get a little bit more of an airy, lighter product. And that is what we're looking for here with this. So I'm just going to give this a really, really good whip into the bowl. And then all I'm going to do is pour it into our ramekins, and then we'll set it aside. We've got a few minutes left here on the salmon. Yeah, six minutes or so. So we'll go ahead and just get this all poured into there here in a minute and set it aside. Now, I know Valentine's Day has already come and gone. There's no reason why you can't enjoy a heart-shaped cake, because the whole month we are celebrating Heart Month. So why not, right? Exactly. So we'll go ahead and just pour these into the ramekins. Yeah, I'm going to try and get these evenly distributed here. And then, you know, the instructions say to let it cool a little bit and release it. That can be a little tricksy. If you want to make it easier on yourself, you can just serve it in the ramekin. They're super cute, right? You can still doll it up and make it look really pretty. That way there's no stress about keeping that ooey gooey lava center intact. I'm going to add a little bit more. I've got a little bit left here. And then, you know, that's easier, especially if you're making this for a couple people like your family or a couple friends, you know, something like that. You can even put these in the freezer if you want to make them ahead and do that, and then just let them go ahead and thaw out. And you could even serve them cold. They don't have to be warm. Warm is nice, but they don't have to be warm. So I'm going to go ahead and set these aside here, because we're waiting for our salmon to come out of the oven. Now, a good lava cake would not be complete without something on top. Maybe just my personal preference, but you know, if we're gonna smash in as many heart-healthy foods into this meal as we can, we need to put something on top of the lava cake, right? So we've got a couple things we're gonna put together here to go with this lava cake. One of the toppings is a vanilla walnut whipped cream. Now stick with me on this. If you have looked at the recipes, there's no cream in there, and that might seem a little unusual. And if you just wanted to put whipped cream on top of your cake, totally fine. However, this is a really, really kind of fun and different way to have whipped cream, especially if you do like walnuts, especially if you're looking for another way to level up what you're eating, if you have trouble tolerating any kind of dairy, right? So it's just nice to have another option here. And this one's really, really easy. We found some other fun things to do with it too. You can put it on top of berries, which is really tasty, by the way. Amber and I actually also really enjoyed it in our coffee. So if you like a little bit of something kind of creamy in your coffee, but you don't want the sweet, this is just subtly sweet. That works out really, really well. It's kind of got a deep, almost a little bit earthy kind of flavor, and that really pairs well with coffee. So, so we're going to go ahead and get that going. Where did I put it? Here it is. So really simple. We got our walnuts. Got some water. We've got our sweetener here. So again, more of the powdered erythritol. We got a little salt in here to balance it out. And then we've also got our vanilla extract and a little bit of this monk fruit sweetener. I know I've showed it before, but if you want a little bit more of that maple syrupy kind of flavor for a sweetener, this ends up working really nice. The monk fruit, Lakanto. You can buy this through Walmart. I buy it through Winco. You can buy it online. So really, really kind of handy product to have. So what we have here is 2 cups of walnuts in our little blender cup. We're going to be using our NutriBullet. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and use this. Our salmon kind of getting close to time. I'm going to go ahead and check on it real quick here. We'll see what we got, just in case, because it is pretty thin. Yeah, actually, that might be done. That looks really good. So if you have pretty thin salmon, you might not even need all the 15 minutes. All righty. So the salmon and the cakes do not cook at exactly the same temperature. We're actually going to drop our temperature down here to 400, and that's what we're going to put the cakes in for. We're going to slide these guys in here. And we're going to set our timer for 8 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and let those ride. So we've got those going here. All right, so we got our timer set for our cake. So we're just going to let the salmon cool down a little bit over there. So like I said, I've got my 2 cups of walnuts right here. We got a cup of water, right? So again, nothing fancy here. And I'm just gonna pour this into the walnuts. And what we really want to do first is kind of give this a good blend. It just works out a little bit better that way. And then we'll add our other ingredients, our other sweet and salty as we need. And so when I'm doing that, I'm gonna let Amber talk at you for a couple minutes because the blender's kind of loud. So watch me, don't listen to me.
Okay, hopefully you all can hear me. We have to mute that, and then you probably can hear a little bit through my mic. Like I said in the beginning of the class, you need to be signed up for every cooking class to receive the email invite if you want to attend it live. Check your MyChart account to assure you're still signed up for future classes that you're interested in. Our next virtual cooking class is March 15th, which is a Friday from 11 to 12, and our topic is Good Morning Sunshine, which will be focusing on breakfast foods. I think she's going to blend again, so I'm just going to keep talking a little bit. Our next Healthy Living series starts the first Tuesday of March, which is March 5th, and we're going to be talking about meal planning. I know we had a cooking class on meal planning last month. The topics for the whole month of March are Label Reading 101, Balancing Your Bariatric Plate, the Virtual Grocery Store Tour, and Mindful Eating. And those are from 11:30 to 12 for 4 Tuesdays in March. Changes will be reflected under appointments in your MyChart account. Be sure to look there for the most current dates and times. We will always attempt to inform you of upcoming changes as we typically know well ahead of time. But your catch-all will always be about 2 weeks before the class. Got a couple questions in here I'm going to address. It looks like I can go ahead and talk about that. Let's see, the sweeteners. So the sweeteners we use today, they don't, some of them have a cooling taste, but this one does not. We're using Swerve. Oh no, for the whipped cream right now, it's a maple lakanto, which is a erythritol, and monk fruit. And then for the cake, we use Swerve, but because it's cooked, it really helps with getting rid of that cooling taste. And let's see, we have not used Truvia since I started working here. Sometimes we do have some stevia, so it just depends. And then it says, Summer says, when do you use monk fruit versus another? You know, that's a good question. I don't know. We just stick with Swerve for most of our things, or Lakanto. So those are monk fruit or your erythritol. But honestly, it's a preference. All right, I'm sending it back to Jen.
Yeah, I think it's really mostly a preference, Summer. I kind of like the erythritol, the Swerve brand, but we have used the monk fruit granular sweetener before. And if you're putting it in something that you're baking, it does have a cooling effect, but the baking kind of really, it kind of levels that out a little bit. Whereas if you're using the monk fruit in something where there's maybe not as much of the baking going on, I think there's just a really heavy cooling effect, like a cooling finish, we'll say, with the monk fruit. And it's totally fine, but you can just tell it's there, even just a tiny bit with baked products, for example. I don't tend to notice that with this. So because it's maybe in the syrup form, I just don't notice much of the cooling that's going on with the monk fruit maple syrup. And I don't notice any kind of cooling typically with the erythritol-based products. So I kind of like to use those. To me, they feel like I have a decent amount of versatility. But I think some of it just comes down to personal preference and what you seem to like and not like, and maybe what other people in your family enjoy. So I think it's good to have both. Sometimes even when I'm cooking things for my family, and they don't need to have the super low sugar because they're reasonably healthy and they're active, right? My kids. So I don't need to really, really restrict the sugar like maybe some of us do as adults. But even for them, I'll cut the sugar, you know, down a bit. So I might do half of normal sugar, half with the monk fruit sweetener, or half with the erythritol, the granular version. And just to kind of cut that sugar down, but still have a little bit of that normal sweetness that they're used to. So it still can be a part and partial, if you will, with that kind of a thing. So I kind of like having all of them. And then I just kind of tinker with different ones and find which ones I like the best and make the adjustments on my recipes so I know which one I think tastes better than others. Here is our whipped cream. So our walnut whipped cream, hopefully you can kind of see that there, right there. So we got some good thickness, right? It'll stand, it's not super a high whip, right? It's not super stiff, but it'll hold a certain amount of form, so kind of a soft whip there. But it's going to go really nicely with our cake. So I'm going to hand this over to Shirley, and she's going to work her magic with it. And then we're going to take the leftovers back to the office and put it in our coffee next week. That's going to be our plan. Now, we have the walnut whip, right? But we need a little bit more. It's not enough. We need something else, maybe something else with a little bit of sweetness. So we thought we would come up with a cherry sauce. And so we've got a little cherry sauce here. You've got the recipe in as part of that recipe deck. And again, just as a reminder, if you're watching the class now, the recipes came to you in an email. And so you do have copies of the recipes in the email that came to you. If you're watching a recording of this and you're looking for the recipes, you do need to reach out to us and let us know that you'd like a copy of the recipes for February of 2024. And you do that to bariatric support at slhs.org. I think Amber already said that, or will, but we'll say it again. So what we've got here is our cherry sauce. Now cherries, along with the berries, have a lot of color to them. And one of the reasons we as dietitians like to say, look for color and look for a variety of colors, because color is the easy way to identify different nutrients in the different foods that we're eating. And our body likes those nutrients. They really help us to function with our day-to-day processes. They help us to stay more young, more youthful, to fight things like inflammation, so heart disease, any kind of brain kind of disorders like Alzheimer's. Also, it's going to help with our heart, right? So we want to think about heart health. We want to think about keeping inflammation down. We want to think about allowing our body to have a really robust immune system so that we can fight things like early cancer cells and just wipe those out before they even become anything significant. So that's my soapbox. Hopefully I didn't take all of Amber's thunder on all of that. But we wanted to come up with a cherry sauce. We thought this is really easy. We just use frozen cherries. You can use fresh if you want, but frozen's so much more convenient. You can use it any time of year. So we got our frozen cherries and we popped those into a pan or a pot on the stove, and we put some water in there and a little bit of cornstarch just to kind of help thicken it a little bit. And you just kind of let those cook down. And once they're starting to soften a bit and liquefy, you can mash them up a little bit more. And that's what you want to do with that. And then you can basically add the other ingredients and blend it up really well. So you're just smoothing it out is all you're doing. If you like chunks, you can do that. You can keep the chunks. You can just blend it a little bit less. But we have a nice smooth cherry sauce here. So I just heard the timer for my cakes. Better take the cakes out. Ah, yeah. A little bit of jiggle, people. Got a little bit of jiggle. I don't know if you can see that. So they've puffed up a little bit and they've got a little bit of jiggle on the top. So when I shake it, they do move a little bit, but you can tell that they've got that coating, that crust that's just starting to bake on the outside. So we have a firm outside, but we definitely have goo on the inside. So if you want to do the lava right around that 8-9-ish minutes, that lower end is what you want to do. But then you do want to go ahead and let them sit. And like I said, if you want to be super spanchy schmancy, you can go ahead and try and get these out intact. But with them being lava, it's a little challenging. So I would say just serve them like this. Let them cool enough so you can just hand it over to your guest or yourself. And then you can top it and you can enjoy a nice little pudding inside of your cake. Okay, so where was I at? Cherry sauce. So we just went ahead and blended this up, and then we drizzled this on top, and Shirley's gonna doll it up and make it look really fun and cute. You don't have to do cherries. If you don't like cherries, you can do other berries. If you want to do blackberries, if you want to do raspberries or strawberries, you'll just have to keep in mind that if you're doing some of those berries, you're going to need to still do the same cooking process, but then you're going to need to mash it through a sieve so that you can get the seeds out, unless you like the seeds, in which case that's fine. But that'll be the way to use other berries and still get that smooth texture if that's what you actually like. So I think we are done. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Amber. She has a lot of good information, actually, she can share with you. So I'm going to give her a few minutes to do that. We're going to do a little bit of cleanup here, and we're going to go ahead and get ready for our salad, the last little tidbit that we've got going on here.
Okie dokie, everybody. I think I've got my mic correct here. I have so much information. I was over prepared for sure. I know Jen was talking about some of the benefits of the, I believe she was talking about walnuts, but I was typing message chat referrals. So forgive me if some of it's repetitive. She might have been talking about berries. I have some stuff to talk about berries later when we get to the salad, but walnuts are just full of amazingness. Honestly, I am so sad when I hear people that have nut allergies only because I'm nuts about nuts, basically. I love nuts. So let me just get to my beautiful picture that has these beautiful nuts here, the almonds and the pistachios and everything. I mean, walnuts are, I've got 13 health benefits, right? I don't know if we're going to talk about all of them, but we've got antioxidants. We've got omega-3 fatty acids, like we were talking about earlier with salmon. We've got decreased inflammation, promote a healthy gut, which is really important, and especially those of you that have had surgery or are going to have surgery, right? Gut health, I mean, it's important to all of us. It's not just important to our bariatric population here at St. Luke's, but it's very important. So promoting a healthy gut, what you eat can significantly impact the health of your microbiome. And so eating walnuts is one of the ways to help improve that and make things better, make digestion better, constipation, everything. Walnuts can reduce cancers. It's amazing. Walnuts has been proven in studies to reduce cancer such as breast, prostate, colorectal cancer. Also, it supports weight management, one of my favorite. But we got to highlight that one. It helps regulate your appetite. And I know that when you have the surgery or even, before, oftentimes our appetites can be a little bit wonky. So beforehand, we're going to be hungrier more. And then after, some people are like, I'm never hungry. I have to force myself to eat. So it can help with, let's see, what did the study say? It said that drinking a smoothie made with walnuts, you saw that we blended them just now, easy to do, can help with decreasing a participant's appetite and hunger, which was in the study. And it was a pretty high percentage. And also, it shows in their brain scan after 5 days of having the smoothies that they had an increase of activation in the region that helped them resist having cravings, such as cake and French fries. Of course, we found a solution to cake because this is amazing. But I will caution you, I was so excited to share it with my family after our practice round 2 weeks ago. I was in not a strange person, but my cousin's house, and I wasn't in my oven, and I went with the recipe, and it was too much, and the whole thing was cooked, no lava, and the lava really in the middle, the jiggliness that Jen was talking about, really creates that tastiness. It makes it more like a fudge, and when it's all cooked like a regular cake, it didn't taste good. So we put a lot of whipped cream on there, and it helped, but yes, you definitely don't want to overcook it. So what's more, another piece on the, I only got to 6, let's see. Also can lower and manage your type 2 diabetes. They had another study that showed an 8% decrease in blood sugar and an 8% decrease in hemoglobin A1C. It also has been proven to lower blood pressure, supports healthy aging, supports good brain function, and it also can help with reproductive health, which is cool. And then our blood fat levels, when we get our blood testing, making sure that our good cholesterol is higher than our, it can't be higher than our bad cholesterol, but making sure we bring those bad numbers down. And then also it's widely available. I think that's the coolest part for me. I think about when we were talking about salmon, like it's expensive and sometimes it's not readily available, but walnuts are pretty affordable, especially if you go, I shop at Winco. I think they have great deals on all that sort of thing. So anyway, that's my deal on walnuts. I think we're going to be switching over to Jen here to start on our dark leafy greens and really healthy berries for our salad.
All right, everyone, we're back. Thank you, Amber. Got a lot of good information going on for you guys. So we're going to have a salad here, right? Vegetables are really good for us. There's just no way around that, but we can dress them up in a lot of different ways to make them taste good, taste different, make them interesting. And in this case, we're going to have a spinach salad, but we're going to make our own vinaigrette. We're going to add some berries and some nuts, and we've got a little feta that we're going to put on top too. Also, goat cheese can be really, really tasty in something like this. So we're going to start off with our dressing, and the instructions say to put it all in a bowl and whisk it together, which you can absolutely do. But I kind of like to do it in a jar. I think it's easier to just put it all into the jar, put on my lid, shake it up really good, and then I can do that ahead of time. And then whenever we're actually ready to dress the salad, if I'm not going to do it immediately, all I got to do is shake that guy up again and I'm good to go. And then if you have extra, if you don't actually use it all, or if you like to plan ahead and make extra on purpose so that you have something left over for later in the week or a different salad that you want to have, it's already in the jar and ready to go. I will tell you this, it's a vinaigrette, so there's going to be some oil in there. If you put it in the fridge, you're going to need to pull it out and let it warm up a bit because the temperature will go ahead and solidify that oil. So just a little thing to know there. So what we're going to start off with is our oil. We've got some avocado oil. I think if you've got extra virgin olive oil, that's a fantastic choice. Extra virgin olive oil is very, very good for you. Like there's some specific chemicals in extra virgin olive oil that are very good for your heart, for your brain, again, for anti-aging, just keeping everything like looking good and working good for as long as possible. So if you can include extra virgin olive oil into your day every single day, you're going to be doing really, really good. You're going to have a little bit of a Mediterranean kind of a vibe going on for yourself. So I've put the oil and I've got a little bit of Dijon mustard. That adds a really, really nice flavor to this. It's not a lot, it's just like what, half a teaspoon? What is it? Yeah, half a teaspoon of the Dijon mustard in there. So again, we're always looking for balance with this. So we want to add some vinegar, and the recipe actually calls for white balsamic vinegar. You can do that. We found rosé, very fancy, right? This is actually what Walmart had, and I thought, why not, right? It's just a vinaigrette, not a big deal. This will have a little bit that lighter kind of a flavor to it, like the white vinegar would. You could use that darker balsamic vinegar. It's just going to be a little bit heavier, and I think it's going to color the salad in a different way. And if you don't care about that, that's totally fine. But this is a nice kind of fresh sort of a flavor to it as the white balsamic vinegar would. So we use that. Not expensive. Found it at Walmart. Easy peasy. We also, again, with balance, when you're trying to balance something like this out, we do need a little bit of sweet. So we have a little bit more of that monk fruit maple syrup going on in here. So we're going to go ahead and pour those in. There we go. And then, of course, a little bit of extra flavor. We got some salt and pepper, right? Some basic stuff here. And then we've got a little bit of garlic powder And we've got a little bit of some Italian seasoning. So just a little bit of some flavor that we're going to pop into this guy. I think it's kind of nice if you can make it a few minutes ahead of time to let those herbs sit into your liquid and really kind of soften up and infuse a little bit into your dressing. But then all we got to do is shake it, right? Shake it up. Easy peasy. Or you can give this to a kid and tell them they have to shake it for 5 times each side for 20 times. I don't know. Keep your kids busy, right? That's when you have little kids, you're always looking for ways to keep your kids busy. Or teenagers, maybe that too. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. Now we're going to get our salad ready to go. We've got our spinach and we've got some berries. I have in here some strawberries, some raspberries, and some blueberries, about 1/2 cup each. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that into our salad. And then what we've done is we have reserved some berries onto the side. So about 1/4 cup each of these. And then some of our chopped or slivered or sliced, however you have them, almonds. And you can use a different nut here too. So if you don't want almonds, you have something else at home already, perfectly fine. Again, it's what we have and we like to use what we have as much as we can. So we're going to put these on here in a minute. But we're going to go ahead and toss these in. And you do have to be a little gentle, right? Because it's berries. We don't want to smash them up too much into our salad. And, you know, again, this has flexibility. So if there are certain berries that you like more than others, if you don't have any strawberries, all you have is some blackberries and some raspberries, use that. All of the berries are really good for you. They all have a lot of nutrition. They are all generally lower in sugar and higher in fiber. So that's also why we tend to push berries as a fruit choice, because especially for you guys having to watch out that sugar in your diet. But if you want something kind of sweet, berries really work out so well. So I'm going to go ahead. And pour my dressing over the top here. We're going to use it all. I'm going to stir that up a little bit more. Whoops, we got a rogue spinach leaf. Someone's trying to get away. Yeah, there we go. That looks good. So we're going to do that. And then I'm just going to sprinkle a few of these berries on top so they get all mixed in. So we're going to do that. I don't even know if we need quite all of these. There we go. So that's going to look really nice. Going to sprinkle the nuts on top here. We've got that. And then when I hand it over to Shirley, she's got some feta that she's going to put on top, because it's just, you don't have to have that. It's just kind of a nice extra, especially if you like that little bit of creaminess that you can put in there. But that's what we have, right? So our nice big healthy spinach salad with some fruit, with some nuts. We've got a really fun light and crisp vinaigrette. And then we'll toss a little bit of feta on top to make it creamy and a little bit salty. And that will be amazing. So I'll hand this over to Shirley. We'll take another couple minutes here of a break, and we're going to start just pulling all of this food together so you can see what it all looks like in the end. So I'll pass it over to Amber.
Okay, everyone. It looks like I did not have my PowerPoint up. I apologize for the break. I was doing so good, and then I just got a little slow there at the end. Sorry about that. Let's make sure we got all our slides. Okay. Well, that's at the end. We'll wait till that. Here's another picture. I can't decide, talk about dark green leafy vegetables with spinach or talk about the berries. So the coolest thing about spinach, I think, as those of you that are on your journey, hopefully some of you are past the 6-week mark and you can have salads. They are just super low calorie. That's what I love about them, and that spinach, and it's high in fiber, which is really helpful to everyone, every human, not just bariatric surgery patients. It also is another one preventing cancer, reducing blood sugar, reducing oxidative stress, which is what we go through every day ourselves, just living in the world. It also has tons of, like I said, fiber, and it also is low in carbs. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin K, and folic acid and iron, all sorts of great things. So spinach is just a really great addition to your diet. I know sometimes I blend it myself, put it in some smoothies because I don't know, sometimes I don't want to eat a salad, right? Like that. I have different greens I like. And then berries also full of almost the same types of thing, antioxidants that can help fight cell damage, and especially including the heart, right? Which is what our focus is this month, heart health. And they're really one of the most delicious and most versatile sources of these plant-based chemical compounds, which are also called phytonutrients. But here, the best one is the lowest calorie, lowest sugar, natural sugar is raspberries. The higher sugar one is blueberries, and then strawberries are also really great. You do want to make sure, because strawberries is one of the, higher pesticide fruits, just to make sure that you wash berries, that even though it says that it's grown in the soil. So the best is to find the ones that are red all the way through, no white, because they will have more antioxidants and better taste. So try slicing them on salads like we have today. But the most nutritious berry in this study that I read said that the winner goes to black raspberries. Interesting. A raspberry with a deeper color, and they provide very high antioxidant levels along with fiber and relatively little natural sugar. And they're the most nutrient dense. Okay, Joyce has a quick question. My tummy doesn't like spinach or romaine. No, fine, no problem. Oh, look at Mish is answering. Yeah. All right, we're going to head back over to the kitchen to celebrate what we made today.
That's right. We are going to celebrate and showcase all of the goodness that we have put together for class today. So let's go ahead and take a look at all of this, and we'll show you how nice it looks, how tasty it looks. It smells really good, by the way. So first we're going to start with our salmon. Shirley plated this very nicely on a heart-healthy looking plate, right? So we've got our nut-crusted salmon. We just got a little bit of zhuzhing up there on the sides for you. So really, really nice. This is probably a good size portion for a lot of you. Probably about 3 ounces right there is what I would guess is about that size, almost the size of a deck of cards. So maybe a little bit more than what some of you can eat at this point, maybe a little bit too small, right? Depends on where you're at. Then we have our salad, because let's be honest, we're probably going to eat the salad with the salmon before we get to dessert. So we've got our nice spinach berry salad with avocado. I didn't cut the avocado on camera, but we did put it in the salad. We did toss it, and then we put it in there for us. So we've got our spinach, all of our berries, our vinaigrette. We've got our cheese on top. We've got our avocados in there. A lot of really good healthy fats with those avocados. So if you enjoy avocados, it's a really nice way to mix these into your diet. The salad is good, guacamole and warmer things like that. And this may sound kind of odd, but avocados go great into a smoothie. They add that little bit of creaminess, nice little extra layer of some satiety there. Kind of helps balance out any kind of carbohydrates that you may have put into it. So if you put a little bit of fruit into your smoothie, that healthy fat will help balance that out. And of course, hopefully a protein powder, because that's usually what y'all are doing with your protein smoothies. And then we must get to dessert. So we've got a few options here on how you can serve these. We've got it in the cute little bowl, right? So easy peasy. We've got our little walnut whip on top and a nice little drizzle of our cherry sauce. But if you can, after they've cooled, put the ramekins into the freezer for about 5 minutes, you can get them to come out a little bit easier for yourself. So we've got our super cute little round ramekin. And there we go. I'll get it a little bit closer for you. Shirley made some chocolate hearts. Then she put the sauce around it and the berries and presented it very beautifully. And then we have our heart-shaped one as well. So we've got the heart-shaped one. I'm trying to tilt this without losing it. So we got our little dark chocolate hearts on top with our toppings, with our walnut whip and our cherry sauce. So you can do some kind of fun things with this. This isn't really too hard. You know, you can pop it out and then you can just kind of drizzle the cherry sauce around. You can just kind of whip up that walnut whip into a bag, or if you have bags with tips, that's an easy way to do it. And she just melted some very dark chocolate, put it into a bag, snipped off a tiny little end, and drew hearts on wax paper and stuck it in the fridge or the freezer to let that harden. And then she put it on top. Not hard at all, but boy, it adds a lot, right? So you can do that, or just do this, whatever you want to do. And then we've got our leftover walnut cream that we're going to enjoy with berries and with our coffee over the next several days. So do we have any other questions, Amber, or comments about anything that we did today in the chat? I see things popping up there, but I can't read it. It's too far away.
Just people have asked if we have sugar-free chocolate, and I just for the decoration.
Oh, sure.
That's the dark chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get sugar-free chocolate chips, or you can just buy very dark chocolate. We do talk about that as a heart healthy option, or at least a lower sugar healthy option in our starting strong class. So as long as you get very dark, like 70% cocoa or more, then you've got a healthy option for your chocolate. And so you can do that, or you can get the sugar-free chocolate chips and do it that way. Either way.
And then some like a regular bar.
Yeah, you can buy that's what Shirley is telling me off to the side. She just buys, you can just get the regular chocolate bars, but you get the ones that are 70 or 80% cocoa and just melt those down gently.
And then there was one person that said she's having trouble since her 6 months since the surgery to do any kind of romaine or spinach. And Mish said, yeah,
okay,
it was a year for her.
Yeah, for some people that does clear up. For some people, they have no problem, you know, at 6-8 weeks after surgery when they start trying those things. Other people, it's quite a few months. So sometimes even 6-8 months or more before some of those things start to work. On occasion, we'll have someone where those foods just never work out for them. But we're going to hold on to hope, Joyce, that they still work out for you. You just need a little bit more time.
Mish wants to see the lava broke.
The lava what?
She wants you to open up one of those cakes.
Oh, okay. You want me to open it. Shirley has a spoon. All right, let's see. Moment of truth, right? We're going to open it up. There we go. These were in the freezer, so the goo is a little thick.
To get it out.
But we got, I don't know if you're able to see this, but it's kind of like pudding. It's kind of like pudding in the middle. There we go. It's kind of gooey and sticky. I don't know if you can see that, but boom, there it is. Lava middle.
Break open one of those.
Oh, okay, I'll break open one of those. All right, hold on, I'll use this other spoon. All right, we're going, these are the ones that we made. These we made before class. These are the ones we just made in class. Oh, yeah, they're still warm, so they're still pretty gooey, but you definitely got some lava in the middle right there. That's so good. Mish is gonna be sad that she's not over here with us. Huh. And all y'all, you need to do this at home. If you need a little treat, if you have a moment or you want to do a birthday or something, these are going to be really, really nice. So this one will need to cool a little bit more. It's not quite cooled enough because it's still pretty gooey. Boy, but it's close. I'm going to have one of these afterwards.
She posted a picture of Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. Lava, right? Yeah.
All right.
All right. We're good. Anyone else? Or are we signing off? Because I'm getting hungry, guys. I'm getting hungry.
I'm just going to talk about.
You talk.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Don't worry, I'm not just gonna ditch out on you guys. I a little slow on the PowerPoint again. My apologies. Someone was asking about YouTube. It looks like Maggie posted up that, which is awesome. We also have a slide for you that talks about exactly where to go when you go to YouTube. if you want to watch it later, or you know someone that wants to watch it, a lot of people can't make it because it's during work time. So we totally understand that because we're working. So it's our work time. But you go to St. Luke's Health System and you make sure that you click on playlists, and then you click bariatric cooking class, and you'll see Jen in the pictures there. You'll see, here's the picture, and it'll say my home kitchen, and then you can click on that and you'll see a lot of our videos. And if there's any from the past, and we have some really great, since I've been working here, I mean, they've all been great. But so if you ever want any past recipes for the videos that are in there, we have them all. So just let us know. You can go back and watch. We had a great holiday one. January was awesome for meal planning. So we've had some really good ones. We had like football and different things like that. Someone asked, Maggie's asked, how soon after the class is recorded will they be up? Usually it's within a week. It just depends on our work schedule and how, 2 weeks is probably a safer bet to say. Jen is signaling me just because we have to make sure, right, it fits with our schedule and Randall's schedule and all of that sort of thing. So that is a great question, Maggie. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys coming. We do these every month. We love, love, love it. It's super fun. One of the best parts of our job. Also, we encourage you to come see us the second Wednesday of every month. We have support group. We love hearing from everyone. There's great comments. There's great sharing. Every month we have that second Wednesday, my apologies, from 5 to 6 p.m. Virtually. And then also we have the healthy living starting in March. And anytime you guys have any questions, you can always send us a MyChart message. If you forget when you leave, whatever, we're there for you. Thank you all so much. And Maggie's doing some awesome messages on how you want to sign up for future classes. She's putting it in the chat and the emails there. We've got this cute little candy heart. Thank you at the end. Thank you all so much for coming. I had more health information to talk about, but that's okay. We'll save it for next time. Actually, no, I think I got everything out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next month.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jen and Amber, this is Mish. Don't hang up. I need to ask you guys